The bullet ripped through the windshield 3 inches from her face. Keturah dove sideways, her groceries exploding across the passenger seat as glass rained down like deadly confetti. Milk splattered across her scrubs. Oranges rolled into the footwell. And somewhere outside her crappy Honda Civic, a man was screaming in Korean. Another gunshot. Then another. She should drive away. She should floor it and never look back. That's what any sane person would do at 2 in the morning in this part of Chicago. But Keturah Wright had never been accused of being sane. She peeked over the dashboard and saw him, a man in a suit that cost more than her rent, crawling across the wet pavement of the abandoned gas station. Blood trailed behind him like a grotesque red carpet. 3 men stood over him, and one of them was laughing. "Hyung, you really thought father would choose you?" The laughing man crouched down, grabbing the injured man's hair. "You were always too soft. Too weak. Too obsessed with honor." The man on the ground, even bleeding out, even seconds from death, smiled. "And you were always too stupid to check your ammunition count, Min-yuk." The standing man's gun clicked empty. Keturah didn't think. She just acted. Her Honda lurched forward, tires screaming against asphalt as she slammed into the 2 bodyguards. They flew like bowling pins. The one called Min-yuk spun around, shock written across his face, but Keturah was already out of the car, already grabbing the bleeding stranger by his collar. "Get in the car." "Who the hell are you?" he gasped. "The idiot saving your life. Move." She hauled him into the back seat with strength she didn't know she possessed. Adrenaline was a beautiful thing. Min-yuk was scrambling for one of his fallen men's weapons. Keturah dove into the driver's seat, threw the car in reverse, and floored it. The back window shattered as bullets chased them into the night. "You're going the wrong way," the man groaned from the back seat. "Excuse me." "Left. Take a left. They'll expect you to go toward the highway." "And why should I listen to you? You're literally bleeding all over my seats." "Because I've been running from men like them my entire life." He coughed, and it sounded wet. "Bad. And I'm very good at not dying." Keturah took the left. "We are 30 seconds into this story and I already have questions, and I think you do too. Who is this man? What did she just drive herself into? And why do I have a feeling neither of them is walking away from this unchanged? If someone in your life needs a story today, this is the one. Now let's get back to Keturah, because she has no idea what she just started. The safe house, if you could call it that, was a motel that looked like it had given up on life somewhere around 1987. The neon sign flickered ACNCY, because the V&A had died long ago. The carpet squished under Keturah's feet in a way that made her question every life choice that had led her here. But she was a nursing student. And the man currently passed out on the questionable bedspread was going to die if she didn't do something. Okay, she muttered, cutting away his blood-soaked shirt with the scissors from her emergency kit. She always kept supplies in her car. For years of nursing school had taught her that, and growing up in Englewood had taught her the rest. The wound was bad. A through-and-through on his left side, missing anything vital by what looked like millimeters. Lucky. This man was impossibly lucky. He was also, she noticed with the clinical detachment of medical training, devastatingly handsome. Sharp jawline. Cheekbones that could cut glass. A face that belonged on a magazine cover, not in a budget motel with blood pooling beneath him. Focus, Keturah, she muttered. Pretty men die just like ugly ones if you don't stop the bleeding. She worked for an hour. Cleaning. Stitching with supplies she definitely shouldn't have taken from her clinical rotation. Praying. When she finally sat back, exhausted and covered in his blood, he was still breathing. Steady. Strong. She allowed herself one moment of relief before the reality of her situation crashed down. She'd just saved a man who was clearly involved in something illegal. Men with guns had been trying to kill him. His own brother had been trying to kill him. And now she was alone with him in a motel room, and no one knew where she was. "Girl, you are so stupid," she whispered to herself. His eyes opened. Keturah jumped back so fast she nearly fell off the bed. His hand shot out, grabbing her wrist with surprising strength for someone who'd lost that much blood. "Where am I?" His voice was rough. Dangerous. "Let go of me." "Where am I?" "Let go." She didn't flinch. Couldn't afford to. Men like him could smell fear like sharks smelled blood. "I just spent an hour keeping your organs inside your body. You want to thank me? Start by not bruising my wrist." Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. Respect, possibly. He released her. "I apologize." He tried to sit up and immediately groaned, falling back. "That was ungrateful." "You think? I'm not accustomed to being vulnerable." "Well, get accustomed real quick, because you're not going anywhere for at least a week. That bullet came about 2 centimeters from making your liver into Swiss cheese." He stared at her. Really looked at her for the first time. She watched him take in her scrubs, her box braids pulled back in a messy bun, the exhaustion carved into her features, the steadiness in her hands. "You're a nurse. Student. 2 more months until I graduate." If she survived that long. If she could afford the last semester. If the universe stopped actively trying to destroy her life. "What's your name?" He hesitated. She watched the calculation in his eyes, the weighing of risk versus reward, the decision of how much truth to offer. "Seojin. Han Seojin." "Well, Seojin, I'm Keturah. And you're going to tell me exactly what kind of mess I just drove myself into." He laughed, and immediately winced in pain. "You don't want to know." "No, I definitely don't. But I need to. Because there's a very good chance that your brother, or whoever that psycho was, is going to come looking for you. And when he does, he's going to find me. So you're going to tell me everything, and then we're going to figure out how to keep both of us alive." Seojin studied her face. "You're not afraid." "I'm terrified. But fear is a luxury, and I can't afford luxuries. Now talk." He was quiet for a long moment. Then, slowly, he began. The Han family had controlled organized crime on the West Coast for 3 generations. His grandfather had built an empire from nothing, a Korean immigrant with nothing but determination and a complete lack of moral boundaries. His father had expanded it, legitimizing portions while keeping the darker enterprises hidden beneath layers of shell companies and political donations. And Seojin, the eldest son, had been groomed since birth to take over. "But your brother has other ideas," Keturah said flatly. "Min-yuk has always believed he deserves the throne." Seojin's jaw tightened. "He's younger. Hungrier. And he's been whispering in my father's ear for years. So your dad just, let him try to kill you?" "My father is in a coma. Has been for 3 weeks. Stroke." The pain in his voice was almost hidden. Almost. The moment he lost consciousness, Min-yuk made his move. He controls the family now. The businesses. The men. Everything I was supposed to inherit. And tonight? Tonight was supposed to be a meeting with a potential ally. Someone who could help me regain control. Seojin's hands curled into fists. It was a trap. Min-yuk knew exactly where I'd be. Keturah stood up, pacing the small room. Her mind raced. This was so far above her pay grade. She was a nursing student who worked double shifts at a diner to pay her rent. She had $47 in her bank account. She was supposed to be studying for her pharmacology final, not hiding out with a Mafia Heir. "Why don't you just go to the police?" Seojin's expression could have frozen Lake Michigan. The police work for my brother. The judges work for my brother. Half the politicians in this city have taken money from my family at some point. There is no authority I can turn to. Then what's your plan? I don't have one. The admission seemed to cost him something. I was supposed to be dead. I didn't plan beyond that. Great. Wonderful. This is fine. Keturah sat down heavily on the other bed. I saved a man with no plan. I didn't ask you to save me. Yeah, well, I didn't ask for some rich boy to get shot in front of my car either, but here we are. They stared at each other across the cramped room. The tension crackled like static electricity. You should leave, Seojin said finally. Take whatever money I have in my wallet and disappear. Go to another state. Change your name. They didn't see your face clearly. You might be safe. Might be. It's the best chance I can offer you. Keturah considered it. Really, truly considered it. She could walk out that door right now. Take his money. Run. Start over somewhere warm. Florida, maybe. She'd always wanted to see the ocean. But then she thought about her grandmother, who had raised her after her mother died. Her grandmother, who had worked 3 jobs to keep food on the table, who had taught her that right women never ran from anything. Her grandmother, who had looked her in the eye on her deathbed and said, "Baby girl, you're gonna face hard choices. When you do, you ask yourself one question: can I live with who I become if I do this?" Could she live with herself if she walked away? If she left this man to die because his problems were too big, too scary, too complicated? She already knew the answer. No. Seojin blinked. No. No, I'm not leaving. She crossed her arms. You need help. I can help. And I refuse to let some entitled, backstabbing little brother win. It's offensive to siblings everywhere. You realize my brother will kill you if he finds you. Then we better make sure he doesn't find us. Seojin stared at her like she'd grown a second head. You're insane. I've been told. She pulled out her phone. Now, is there anyone you trust? Anyone at all who might still be loyal to you? One person. Maybe. My father's old advisor, Mr. Yun. He's been with the family since before I was born. Minyuk forced him into retirement last week. Call him. My phone is probably being tracked. I figured. She tossed him hers. It's prepaid. Untraceable. I watch a lot of crime shows. For the first time since she'd met him, Seojin smiled. It transformed his face, softening the hard edges, revealing something almost boyish beneath the cold exterior. You're remarkable. I know. Now make the call. The phone call changed everything. Mr. Yun was a cautious man, but his loyalty to Seojin was absolute. He revealed that Minhyuk's control was more fragile than it appeared. Many of the older family members were uncomfortable with his leadership. They remembered Seojin as the rightful heir. They whispered behind closed doors. They waited for a sign. But there was a problem. A big one. The succession ritual, Seojin said, his face pale. I'd forgotten. The what now? It's tradition. When leadership transfers, the new head must be officially recognized by the family elders within 30 days. If Minyuk completes the ritual before I can challenge him, his position becomes permanent. Untouchable. And how many days has it been? Seojin closed his eyes. 23. 7 days. They had 7 days to take down an entire criminal empire. I need you to sit with that for a second, because 7 days, no allies, no authority they can trust, and a brother who already tried to put him in the ground. Tell me honestly, do you think they can actually pull this off? What would you do if you were Keturah right now? I genuinely want to know, so leave your thoughts, because this story is about to take a turn nobody sees coming. Okay, Keturah said slowly. This is fine. We just need to prove that your brother isn't fit to lead. How hard could that be? Seojin looked at her like she'd suggested they walk to the moon. What I love about you, he said dryly, is your complete inability to recognize when a situation is hopeless. Hopeless is just a word people use when they're out of ideas. I'm never out of ideas. She grabbed a pen and the motel's stained notepad. Let's think. What does your brother want most in the world? Power. Control. My head on a plate. Besides that, everyone has a weakness. Something they can't resist. Seojin considered this. Women. He's always been indiscreet. It's caused problems before. Scandals that my father had to cover up. Interesting. What else? He's greedy. Even by our family's standards. He's been skimming from the businesses for years. I suspected, but I never had proof. Now we're talking. Keturah was scribbling furiously. If we can prove he's stealing from the family, would the elders care? They would care deeply. The family's success depends on loyalty and integrity. If Minyuk is proven to be a thief, it would disqualify him from leadership entirely. Then that's our play. We find evidence of his embezzlement, present it to the elders, and watch his entire empire crumble. Simple as that? Simple as that. Seojin laughed. It was a real laugh this time, full and warm, and it did something strange to Keturah's stomach. She ignored it. You have no idea what you're getting yourself into, he said. Story of my life. The next 3 days were a blur of planning, hiding, and trying not to kill each other. Seojin, it turned out, was the most insufferable patient in existence. He refused to rest, constantly pushed himself too hard, and had opinions about everything. He complained about the food she brought him, even though she was spending her own money to feed him. He questioned every idea she had, even when they were clearly brilliant. And he had an irritating habit of watching her when he thought she wasn't looking. Stop that, she said on the third day, not glancing up from her laptop. Stop what? Staring at me like I'm a puzzle you're trying to solve. You are a puzzle. He shifted on the bed, wincing slightly. His wound was healing well, thanks to her care, but he was still weak. I can't figure you out. What's to figure out? I'm a nursing student who made a questionable life choice. End of story. No. There's more. He tilted his head, studying her. You're smart. Resourceful. You could be doing anything with your life. Why nursing? Because it pays well and I'm good at it. That's the practical answer. What's the real one? Keturah's hands stilled on the keyboard. No one had ever asked her that before. Not really. My grandmother, she heard herself say. She raised me. When I was 16, she got sick. Cancer. The nurses who took care of her in the end, they were angels. They held her hand when she was scared. They explained things to me when the doctors couldn't be bothered. They made her last months bearable. She swallowed hard. I wanted to be that for someone else. Seojin was quiet for a long moment. She sounds like an extraordinary woman. She was. She'd probably smack me upside the head for getting involved in this mess, though. Would she? Keturah smiled despite herself. No. She'd say I was doing the right thing. Then she'd smack me for not being more careful about it. Seojin returned her smile, and something shifted between them. Some invisible wall began to crack. Your family, Keturah said, changing the subject before things got too heavy. Tell me about them. The real version, not the crime boss stuff. There's not much separation between the two. There's always something. First memory of your dad. Go. Seojin's expression softened. He taught me to play chess. I was 5. He said every great leader needed to think 10 moves ahead. Did you beat him? Once. When I was 17. He was so proud he took me out for dinner and let me order anything I wanted. The memory played across his face. It was the last time I remember him being just my father. After that, I was being groomed as his successor. Everything changed. And your mother? The softness disappeared. She died when I was 12. Car accident. Or so I was told. You don't believe that? I learned a long time ago that nothing in my family happens by accident. The weight of that statement settled over them like a shroud. Keturah couldn't imagine growing up in a world where your own family might be responsible for your mother's death. Where trust was a vulnerability. Where love was a weapon. I'm sorry, she said. And meant it. Don't be. It made me who I am. And who is that? Seojin met her eyes. Someone who's spent his entire life preparing for a throne he's not sure he wants. The confession hung in the air between them. Raw. Honest. Vulnerable. Then why are you fighting for it? Keturah asked softly. Because if I don't, Minyuk will destroy everything. He doesn't want to lead the family. He wants to strip it for parts. Sell off the legitimate businesses. Double down on the illegal ones. Burn through our legacy in a decade for short-term profit. Seojin's jaw tightened. My grandfather built something. It wasn't always good. It wasn't always right. But it was something. And there are people who depend on us. Employees. Families. Communities we've invested in. I can't let him tear it all apart. So you want to take over too, what? Become a better crime boss? I want to finish what my father started. Legitimize everything. Get us out of the darkness entirely. It was his dream. It should have been his legacy. Now it has to be mine. Keturah studied him. This wasn't the cold, calculating man she'd rescued 3 days ago. This was someone carrying the weight of generations on his shoulders, trying to find a way to make something good out of something broken. She understood that. More than he knew. Okay, she said finally. Let's go get your empire back. Day 5 brought their first real break. Mr. Yun had come through. He'd found them a contact inside Minhyuk's operation, a young accountant named Danny Kim who was terrified of the new leadership and desperate for a way out. The meeting was set for midnight in the back room of a Korean restaurant that had been serving as a Han family front for decades. It was risky. Beyond risky. But they were running out of time. You're not coming, Seojin said flatly. Keturah laughed in his face. You can barely walk without limping. You think you're going alone? It's too dangerous. And you're too weak. You need backup. I'll take Mr. Yun. Mr. Yun is 73 years old and has cataracts. I'm coming. Seojin stepped closer. Close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and woodsy that she absolutely refused to notice. His eyes bore into hers with an intensity that made her breath catch. If something happens to you because of me, I will never forgive myself. Then make sure nothing happens to me. Keturah. Seojin. She met his gaze without flinching. You don't get to protect me from my own choices. I walked into this with my eyes open. I'm staying. He stared at her for a long moment. Then, almost imperceptibly, the corner of his mouth curved. Has anyone ever told you you're impossible? Frequently. I take it as a compliment. The restaurant was quiet when they arrived. Too quiet. Keturah's instincts screamed at her as they slipped through the back entrance, but she forced herself to stay calm. Panic was useless. Action was everything. Danny Kim was already there, a nervous young man in glasses who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else on earth. Mr. Han. He bowed deeply to Seojin. It's an honor. The honor is mine, Danny. Mr. Yun tells me you have information. I do. I've been keeping records for months. Secret records. Your brother, he's been moving money out of the family accounts and into offshore holdings. Millions of dollars. He's been doing it for years. Do you have proof? Danny produced a flash drive with trembling hands. Everything is on here. Account numbers. Transaction records. Dates. It's all documented. Seojin took the drive like it was made of gold. This is enough to destroy him. There's more. Danny glanced nervously at the door. Your brother is planning something. Something big. He's meeting with the Volkov Bratva tomorrow night. He's going to sell them our territory on the south side. Keturah sucked in a breath. Even she knew what that meant. The Volkov Bratva was the Russian mafia, brutal and expansionist. Giving them a foothold in Han territory would be catastrophic. Why would he do that? Seojin's voice was ice. He needs the money. He's leveraged everything. Made bad investments. He's desperate. So he's selling out the family to cover his own mistakes. Yes. Seojin's composure cracked for just a moment. Rage flickered across his features, hot and dangerous. Then it was gone, locked away behind that mask of control. When and where is this meeting? Tomorrow. 10 p.m. The Meridian Hotel downtown. Presidential suite. Can we get access? I can get you a keycard. But Mr. Han, please. If your brother finds out I helped you. He won't. Seojin placed a hand on Danny's shoulder. When this is over, you'll be protected. You have my word. The sound of a door opening made them all freeze. Footsteps. Multiple pairs. Coming closer. Keturah's heart stopped. It seems, a familiar voice drawled, that my brother isn't as dead as I was led to believe. Minyuk stepped into the room, flanked by 6 armed men. His smile was cruel. His eyes were colder. Did you really think I wouldn't be watching my own accountant? Danny, I'm disappointed in you. Danny made a strangled sound of terror. Run, Keturah breathed. Everything happened at once. Seojin grabbed the table and flipped it toward Minhyuk's men. Danny bolted for the kitchen. Keturah snatched a pan from the prep station and swung it at the nearest guard's head with every ounce of strength she possessed. He went down hard. Go! Seojin roared, shoving her toward the emergency exit. They ran. Through the kitchen. Through the alley. Through the dark streets of Chicago, gunshots ringing out behind them. Keturah's lungs burned. Her legs screamed. But she didn't stop. Couldn't stop. Seojin grabbed her hand as they rounded a corner, pulling her into a recessed doorway. They pressed against each other, breathing hard, listening as their pursuers thundered past. His face was inches from hers. His heart hammered against her chest. His eyes, dark and intense, found hers in the shadows. Are you hurt? He whispered. No. You. I'll live. They stayed frozen like that, pressed together in the darkness, as the sounds of pursuit faded into the distance. This is getting out of hand, Keturah murmured. Agreed. We almost died. Yes. Again. Yes. She should have been terrified. She was terrified. But somehow, pressed against him in this doorway, with his hand still wrapped around hers, she also felt something else. Safe. Which was absolutely insane, given the circumstances. Seojin. Yes. After this is over, you owe me the biggest steak dinner in Chicago. Despite everything, he laughed. That warm, genuine laugh that she was coming to treasure. Deal. There is something about two people laughing in the dark when they should be falling apart that just breaks me every time. If you have felt every single shift in this story the way I think you have, stay close, because what is coming next is the part that is going to make you feel it in your chest. Day 6 was for planning. Day 7 was for war. They had Danny's flash drive. They had dates and times. But most importantly, they had something Minyuk didn't know about, access to the meeting with the Volkov Bratva. The elders will be present at the succession ritual tomorrow evening, Seojin explained as they huddled in their new hiding spot, a storage unit that belonged to one of Mr. Yun's contacts. If we can expose Minhyuk's betrayal before the ritual is complete, everything changes. But the meeting with the Russians is at 10. The ritual is at 9. How do we prove anything in time? Live feed. Seojin held up a small device, a high-tech camera no bigger than a button. We plant this in the hotel room. Broadcast the entire meeting to the ceremony. The elders will see him selling out the family in real time. Exactly. Keturah nodded slowly. It was audacious. Dangerous. Absolutely insane. She loved it. One problem. How do we get into the hotel room early enough to plant this without being caught? Seojin's expression flickered with something like embarrassment. I may have an idea about that. But you're not going to like it. Try me. The presidential suite has a private service entrance. It's how we get in and out without being seen by regular guests. But it requires a specific security code that changes daily. And who has the code? My ex-girlfriend. She manages the hotel. Keturah stared at him. Your ex-girlfriend. It was a long time ago. How long? 3 months. 3 months is not a long time ago. It was a complicated situation. Oh, I bet it was. Keturah threw her hands up. So let me get this straight. Our entire plan hinges on you asking your recent ex-girlfriend for a favor. Yes. The ex-girlfriend you dumped. Or who dumped you? Seojin winced. Mutual. Seojin. Mutual breakups don't exist. Someone always cares more. Which one was it? He was quiet for a moment too long. Oh my God. Keturah buried her face in her hands. She still loves you, doesn't she? Love is a strong word. This is a disaster. It's our only option. Can't Mr. Yun? Mr. Yun has been compromised. Minyuk knows he's helping me. He's in hiding. Keturah paced the small storage unit, her mind racing. There had to be another way. Some other option. Some plan that didn't involve Seojin's complicated love life. But there wasn't. She knew that. He knew that. Fine, she said finally. Call her. But I'm coming to that meeting. Absolutely not. Oh, absolutely yes. You think I'm letting you walk into that alone? What if she's angry? What if she's working with your brother? What if she's... Minji would never work with Minyuk. She hated him. Minji. Pretty name. Keturah. No, it's fine. It's totally fine. Let's call Minji and ask her to help save your life so you can reclaim your criminal empire. Normal Tuesday. Seojin caught her arm as she paced past him. His grip was gentle, but firm. His eyes searched hers with an intensity that made her stomach flip. You're jealous. I am not jealous. You're absolutely jealous. I don't even know you. You can't be jealous of someone you've known for less than a week. It's literally impossible. And yet nothing. I'm concerned. There's a difference. He was standing very close now. Close enough that she could see the flecks of gold in his dark eyes. Close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off his body. Keturah. His voice was low. Soft. Whatever Minji and I had, it's over. It's been over. She was convenient. Safe. Someone my family approved of. But I never felt for her what I. He stopped himself. Looked away. What you what? Keturah pressed. Nothing. It doesn't matter. We need to focus. He released her arm and turned away, but not before she saw the flush creeping up his neck. Oh. Oh. This was bad. This was very, very bad. Because she felt it too. This pull between them. This electricity that crackled every time they touched. This terrifying, impossible, completely inappropriate attraction. She was supposed to be saving his life. Not falling for him. Not wondering what it would feel like if he kissed her. Not imagining a future where any of this could work. Because it couldn't work. He was a crime lord. She was a nursing student. Their worlds didn't intersect. They couldn't intersect. But tell that to her heart, which was currently doing somersaults in her chest. Fine, she said, her voice steadier than she felt. Call Minji. Let's get this over with. Minji was beautiful. Of course she was beautiful. Because the universe apparently wasn't done messing with Keturah's emotions. She was Korean, elegant, with the kind of effortless grace that made Keturah painfully aware of her own scrubs and unwashed hair. She wore a tailored dress that probably cost more than Keturah's car. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair cascaded in perfect waves. And she was looking at Seojin like he was water in a desert. I thought you were dead. Minji's voice was thick with emotion. Minyuk told everyone you were dead. Reports of my death were greatly exaggerated. This isn't funny, Seojin. I mourned you. I cried for 3 days. I'm sorry. I couldn't risk contacting anyone. My brother has eyes everywhere. Minji nodded, composing herself. Then her gaze slid to Keturah. It was assessing. Calculating. And not entirely friendly. Who is this? Keturah Wright. She saved my life. I see. Minji's smile didn't reach her eyes. And you brought her here because... Because I trust her. Seojin's voice was firm. Completely. Something flickered across Minji's face. Pain, maybe. Or realization. She looked between them, and Keturah watched her understand something that Keturah herself had been trying to deny. I see, Minji said again. Softer this time. Sadder. Minji, I need your help. My brother is meeting with the Volkov Bratva tomorrow night in your hotel. I need access to the suite before they arrive. You want me to betray a paying guest? I want you to help me save my family from destruction. Minji was quiet for a long moment. The tension in the room was suffocating. 3 years, she finally said. We were together for 3 years. And in all that time, you never looked at me the way you look at her. Keturah's heart stopped. That line. 3 years, and she saw in 10 minutes what she had spent 3 years hoping wasn't true. I don't know about you, but I felt that one somewhere very quiet and very deep. Keep watching, because what Minji does next tells you everything about the kind of woman she really is. Seojin opened his mouth to respond, but Minji held up a hand. Don't. Don't explain. It's fine. I always knew I wasn't the one. I just hoped I was wrong. She pulled a keycard from her pocket. The code for tomorrow is 7749. Service entrance is through the parking garage, level B2. You have until 8 p.m. before my security does their evening sweep. Seojin took the card. Minji, I. Go save your family, Seojin. She turned away, but not before Keturah saw the tears in her eyes. And when this is over, be happy. That's all I ever wanted for you. She walked out without looking back. The silence she left behind was deafening. She loved you, Keturah said softly. I know. Did you love her? Seojin turned to face her. His expression was open. Vulnerable. Raw. I tried to. I wanted to. But you can't force your heart to feel something it doesn't. He stepped closer. Just like you can't stop it from feeling something it does. Keturah should have stepped back. Should have maintained distance. Should have remembered all the reasons this was a terrible idea. Instead, she stayed exactly where she was. Seojin, we can't. I know. This situation is insane. I know. We might both be dead tomorrow. I know. He reached up, tucking a stray braid behind her ear. His fingers lingered against her cheek. But if I die tomorrow, I want to die knowing I was honest about how I feel. And how do you feel? He leaned in, his forehead resting against hers. Like I've been waiting my entire life to meet someone like you. Like nothing in my world makes sense except when you're in it. Like I would burn everything I have to ashes if it meant keeping you safe. Keturah closed her eyes. Her heart was racing so fast she thought it might burst. That's terrifying, she whispered. Yes. We've known each other for 6 days. Yes. This is crazy. Yes. She pulled back just enough to look into his eyes. What she saw there took her breath away. Not just desire. Not just attraction. Something deeper. Something real. When this is over, she said slowly, we're going to have a very long conversation about what comes next. I look forward to it. But right now, we have a crime lord to take down. Seojin smiled, that rare, genuine smile that she'd learned to treasure. Right now, he agreed, we have a crime lord to take down. The day of reckoning arrived with a blood-red sunset. Keturah and Seojin slipped into the Meridian Hotel at 7:30 p.m. The service entrance was exactly where Minji said it would be. The code worked perfectly. Within minutes, they were in the presidential suite, planting the camera in a position that would capture everything. 30 minutes until my brother's security does their advance sweep, Seojin said, checking his watch. We need to be gone by then. The camera's in place. We can access the feed remotely. Keturah pulled out her tablet, verifying the connection. Clear picture. Good audio. We're ready. They slipped out as quietly as they'd come, making their way across town to the location of the succession ceremony, a grand estate that had been in the Han family for generations. Mr. Yun met them at a side entrance, his weathered face etched with worry. The elders are assembled, he said quietly. Minyuk is preparing to accept the formal oath. Once that happens, nothing can stop him. It won't happen. Seojin's voice was steel. Is everything ready? The audiovisual system is under our control. On your signal, we can broadcast the feed to every screen in the building. Good. Seojin turned to Keturah. This is your last chance to walk away. My feet aren't moving. He took her hand. Squeezed it once. Then let's end this. The main hall of the Han estate was a vision of old-world elegance. Crystal chandeliers. Silk tapestries. Portraits of ancestors staring down with cold judgment. And at the center of it all, surrounded by gray-haired elders in traditional formal wear, stood Minyuk. He looked every inch the crime lord. Expensive suit. Cold eyes. A smile that never reached them. Brothers and sisters of the Han bloodline, he was saying, tonight we write a new chapter in our family's legacy. Tonight, we look forward, not back. Tonight, we embrace the future. His gaze swept the room, soaking in the power, the deference, the fear. And then he saw his brother. Minhyuk's smile froze on his face. For one perfect moment, Keturah watched genuine fear flicker across his features. Seojin. The name came out strangled. You're supposed to be dead. You really should have checked for a body, little brother. Seojin strode into the hall, Keturah at his side. Didn't father teach you anything? The elders erupted in shocked murmurs. Guards moved toward Seojin, but Mr. Yun's allies intercepted them. This is impossible, Minhyuk snarled. I shot you myself. Actually, your men shot me. And they missed anything vital. Convenient, that. Almost like someone wanted me to survive. Seojin smiled coldly. I've always wondered if you had any loyalists who secretly hoped I'd live. This changes nothing. The succession. The succession hasn't been completed yet. I'm challenging your right to lead. An older man, one of the most senior elders, stepped forward. On what grounds? On the grounds that Minhyuk has been systematically stealing from the family for years. Millions of dollars funneled to offshore accounts. I have documentation. Proof. Seojin produced the flash drive Danny had given them. Another elder took it, plugging it into a laptop. These could be fabricated, Minhyuk sneered, but his voice had risen. Panicked. Check the account numbers. Check the transaction records. You'll find they're genuine. The elder examining the files grew very still. Then very pale. This is authentic. These accounts belong to Han subsidiaries. The money was moved out and never returned. Lies. Minhyuk was losing control now. This is a desperate ploy by a desperate man. There's more. Seojin pulled out his phone. In approximately 3 minutes, my brother will be meeting with Vladimir Volkov at the Meridian Hotel. He's planning to sell our South Side territory to the Russians in exchange for enough money to cover his losses. That's ridiculous. I would never. Let's find out, shall we? Seojin nodded to Mr. Yun. The massive screen behind the elders flickered to life. And there, in crystal clear definition, was the presidential suite of the Meridian Hotel. Vladimir Volkov himself sat in an armchair, flanked by his lieutenants. And walking through the door, greeting them with a handshake, was Minhyuk. The feed was live. The timestamp confirmed it. And every word of their conversation echoed through the hall. The South Side is yours, the recorded Minhyuk was saying. 20 million, as we agreed. In exchange, you get free operation in Han territory. No interference. No protection payments. It's all yours. The real Minhyuk went white. The elders went silent. And then, chaos. Traitor. The oldest elder, a woman with steel-gray hair and eyes like daggers, rose to her feet. You would sell our legacy to outsiders. You would betray everything your father built. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like. Another elder slammed his fist on the table. We saw it with our own eyes. Seojin planned this. He manipulated everything. Seojin is not the one on that screen selling our territory to the Russians. The guards who had been loyal to Minhyuk began stepping back. The power in the room was shifting, tangible and visible, like a tide retreating from a drowning man. Minhyuk's eyes found Keturah. In them, she saw hatred. Pure, undiluted hatred. You. He lunged toward her. You did this. You ruined everything. He never reached her. Seojin moved faster than Keturah had ever seen him move. He intercepted his brother mid-lunge, delivering a blow that sent Minhyuk crashing to the floor. Touch her, Seojin said quietly, and I will end you. Brother or not. Minhyuk looked up from the floor, blood dripping from his split lip. All the arrogance, all the cruelty, had drained from his face. He looked small. Pathetic. Defeated. Take him, the eldest elder commanded. Confine him until we decide his fate. Guards moved in. Minhyuk didn't resist. He had nothing left. As they dragged him away, he looked back at Seojin one last time. Father would be proud of you, he spat. You're exactly like him. Cold. Ruthless. Without mercy. Seojin's expression didn't change. I learned from the best. But unlike you, I learned the right lessons. Minyuk disappeared through the doors. And just like that, it was over. The aftermath was a blur of bowing elders, sworn oaths, and hasty reorganization. Seojin was officially confirmed as the head of the Han family. His first act was to call off the meeting with the Volkovs and personally apologize for his brother's unauthorized negotiations. His second act was to find Keturah. She was standing by the window of a side parlor, looking out at the night sky. She hadn't belonged in the main hall. That was his world, not hers. So she'd slipped away, letting him handle his business. Hey. She turned. He stood in the doorway, looking exhausted but lighter. Like a burden had been lifted. Hey yourself, Mr. Crime Lord. He laughed softly, crossing to stand beside her. I believe I promised you a steak dinner. You believe correctly. Are you free this weekend? Seojin, I have $12 in my checking account and 2 weeks until my final exams. I'm free whenever you say I'm free. He turned to face her fully. In the moonlight streaming through the window, he looked almost ethereal. Beautiful. About your exams, he said carefully. I noticed your tuition is past due. There's a hold on your student account. Keturah stiffened. How do you know that? I may have asked Mr. Yun to look into your situation. I wanted to help. Seojin. Your debt has been cleared. Not just your tuition. Everything. Student loans. Credit cards. Your grandmother's medical bills that the collection agency has been calling about. Keturah's world tilted. What? You saved my life, Keturah. You risked everything for me. For a stranger. For someone whose problems should never have been yours. Let me do this. That's too much. I can't accept. You can. And you will. He took her hands in his. Because you deserve to start fresh. Because you deserve to finish your degree without worrying about money. Because you deserve to become the incredible nurse you're going to be without anything holding you back. Tears burned in Keturah's eyes. She blinked them back furiously. You can't just throw money at people and expect them to be okay with it. I know. I'm sorry. I should have asked first. He squeezed her hands. But I'm not sorry for wanting to give you what you deserve. I'll never be sorry for that. She looked at him, this impossible man who had crashed into her life a week ago and turned everything upside down. What happens now? She whispered. Whatever we want. He smiled, soft and genuine. We can go as slow as you need. I'll wait. I'll prove that I'm worth taking a chance on. I'll show you every day that you made the right choice when you saved me. And if your world is too dangerous for me, if being with you puts a target on my back, then I'll spend the rest of my life keeping you safe. Whatever it takes. However long it takes. Keturah studied his face. Looking for doubt. For hesitation. For any sign that this was too good to be true. She found nothing but sincerity. You're really serious about this? I've never been more serious about anything in my life. She laughed, despite herself. Despite the tears still threatening to fall. Despite the impossibility of it all. You know I'm going to drive you crazy, right? I don't take orders. I don't back down from fights. I say exactly what I think even when I shouldn't. I know. It's my favorite thing about you. And I'm going to make you eat soul food at least twice a week. Real food. None of that fancy stuff. I wouldn't have it any other way. And my grandmother's recipes are sacred. You will respect the greens. You will respect the cornbread. No negotiations. He laughed, pulling her closer. Consider them respected. They stood there in the moonlight, two people from completely different worlds who had somehow found their way to each other. Keturah Wright, Seojin murmured, when you hit me with your car, you changed my entire life. I didn't hit you. I hit the guys trying to kill you. There's a difference. Either way, I'm grateful. He leaned down. She rose up on her toes. And when their lips finally met, it felt like coming home. Like everything she'd ever struggled for, everything she'd ever survived, had led her to this moment. To this man. To this impossible, beautiful, terrifying new beginning. 6 months later, Keturah graduated at the top of her nursing class. Seojin sat in the front row, applauding louder than anyone. 1 year later, she opened a free clinic in Englewood, funded by the Han family's newly legitimized charitable foundation. 2 years later, on a beach in Hawaii at sunset, Seojin dropped to one knee. She said yes before he finished asking. And somewhere, Keturah knew, her grandmother was smiling. If this story moved something in you, if Keturah felt like someone you recognize, someone you love, or maybe even someone you see in the mirror, then you already know there are more stories on this channel that were made with that same intention. Every single one of them starts exactly where this one did, with a woman who had every reason to walk away, and chose not to.